This meeting is being recorded.
So we're starting.
Welcome. Yeah.
Starting
Welcome
at the
to the
bottom
North.
of 1202.
Welcome
In
everybody.
In Bijapur, Baba had expressed his wish to enter seclusion. Since no suitable spot was located, Baba instructed that a cave be dug at Meherabad. I will sit there in seclusion, and it would be most desirable if the Mandali themselves dig the cave. All the men were ready to share in the labor, but Baba selected Hindu, Chagan, Sailor, and Vishnu for the work, making Jalbai the supervisor. Baba selected a spot for the cave on the southeastern side of Meherabad Hill, and the 5 men did the work in earnest. Chagan was also ordered to cook Baba's food. However, Chagan's hands were cut and badly blistered by the cave digging, and he had a standing order that before cooking Baba's food, he was to wash his hands 10 times with soap. He therefore told Baba, "My hands are cut. How can I wash them before cooking your food?" "There is no need to wash them," replied Baba. "Bandage them and then begin. But look at my hands. They are filthy." "Forget about the dirt. It is my order which washes out all dirt." So Chagan would cook each day, and Baba often remarked how tasty the food was. By Friday, 7 November 1930, Baba was in a hurry to have the cave completed, and he instructed the workers to make certain that it was finished soon. He then left with a few of the Mandali for Lonavala, where Ghani had arranged their stay at his house. Here too, there was a continuous stream of people for darshan, and Baba explained much about the spiritual path. While darshan in Lonavala was very joyful, the scene was quite different in Meherabad. The Mandali were working like mules, doing all the labor themselves and barely finding time for meals. Whenever they would take a break, they would sit and chew tobacco. One day, some people from Pune arrived and noticed the Mandali chewing the last of their tobacco. When the people returned to Pune, they sent some tobacco to the men with someone traveling on the train which passed by Meherabad. Occasionally, the Pune devotees would send other packages to the Mandali with someone traveling on the train. As the train neared Meherabad, the person would toss the package out and the men would pick it up near the tracks. In this way, baskets of sweets also began to be sent, and the laborers were enjoying them. One day, while Sadashiv Patil was passing Meherabad on the train, he threw out 4 large parcels of ladus, which the 4 working on the cave retrieved. Being more than enough for them, they distributed a large portion of the sweets to the rest of the Meherabad community. This upset Bua Saheb because he was the manager of Meherabad, and eating such quote unquote contraband goods was not allowed with Baba's prior permission.
Without.
Go ahead, someone else.
I'll go. Scroll.
Oh, sorry. I backed up a page. There we go.
After a brief visit to Nasik, Baba returned to Meherabad on 11 November, whereupon Boaseb complained about the 4 cave workers. Baba lambasted them. Why did you eat the sweets without my permission? No one here except Boaseb is faithful. But Jalbai saved them from a terrible scolding. He admitted eating ladoos, and since he was their supervisor, they could not be wholly blamed. Baba forgave all with a warning not to do it again. Baba was pleased to know that the work on the cave was finished, and a tin sheet roof was installed overhead. The cave was 8 feet deep, and a Persian carpet was spread over the earthen floor. A canvas was hung across the entrance, and the ground opposite the cave was leveled for the mandali to gather during Baba's seclusion. Baba named it the Pachvati Cave and secluded himself in it on Sunday, 15 November, 1930. Footnote: Pachvati, meaning 5 banyan trees, is a famous place of pilgrimage in Nasik, associated with Lord Ram, who stayed there during the 12-year exile. Babajan had also stayed there prior to settling in Pune. Before entering seclusion, Baba held a darshan program for poor people only, and many were fed. Late that afternoon, Baba was taken to the cave. Sitting on the ground in front of it, all chanted for 1 hour the simple prayer dictated by Baba of the names of God: Hari, Paramatma, Allah, Ahorzamada, God, Yezdan, Hu. Baba ordered this prayer to be sung along with his arti each evening at sunset until he ended this seclusion. The mandali were permitted to bow down at Baba's feet for darshan after the arti. While Baba was in strict seclusion in Panchvati Cave, Pleader was isolated in the post office building. One day, Pleader looked up and saw a long black cobra hanging from the ceiling. He had orders not to leave the room, nor could he shout for help, since he was also maintaining silence. Although terrified, there was nothing he could do but stare up at the snake and remember Baba even more. A considerable amount of time passed, and it is even said that the cobra drank some of Pleader's milk. Finally, when Sidhu came to bring the next ration of milk, Pleader pointed toward the ceiling. Sidhu stumbled backward when he saw the size of the snake. He was so scared that for a few moments, Sidhu could not utter a word. Then he began shouting. Pendu and Shagan came running to help. The cobra was curled in the corner of the rafters, and it was difficult to lure it down in order to kill it.
How exciting.
So Pendu and Shagan wrapped a cloth around a stick, soaked it in kerosene, and lit it. When they thrust the torch toward the snake, the cobra began hissing, spitting its venom, and trying to curl further into the corner. But the roof tile soon became so hot, the snake fell down. Pendu and Shagan struck it with a staff, breaking a vertebra. Shagan then crushed its head. The cobra had landed so close to him that Shagan afterward fainted, even though he was an expert snake killer. Despite all this commotion, Pleader did not leave his room, nor did he break his silence, obeying the master to the letter. Well, news was received at this time that a British freelance journalist named Paul Brutton, 32, was coming from England for Baba's darshan and to interview him. Footnote: Paul Brutton's given name was Herman Hirsch. He changed it to Raphael Hurst and was still using that name in 1930. Brunton's parents were Jewish, and he developed an interest in meditation, mysticism, and theosophy at a young age. He published articles for the Occult Review, through which he likely came in contact with Meredith Starr. He spent 2 years as a regular visitor to the library of the Secretary of State for India. Broughton also began a correspondence with K.J. Dastor, who wrote tremendously enthusiastic letters about his guru. Broughton related, so much so that I was tempted to go out and investigate the matter for myself. Footnote. The London Forum, or the Occult Review, August 1934, quote, My Tour Among the Yogis by Paul Broughton. Broughton was working as the publicity advisor to 3 large corporations, but he gave up his occupation and decided to travel throughout India, Egypt, and Asia, investigating the ideas and practices of yogis, sadhus, and holy men, and personally living in their retreats, hermitages, and ashrams. Even before meeting Baba, Broughton wrote a laudatory article for the August 1930 issue of the MEHER Message, titled, The West Needs MEHER Baba. And a footnote here, according to his diaries and the skeptical tone of his description of his meetings with Baba, as related in A Search in Secret India, Broughton never accepted Baba as a real master. This is what he wrote. Meher Baba, though a good man and one living an ascetic life, is unfortunately suffering from colossal delusions about his own greatness. Therefore, Broughton's article in the Meher Message was most likely heavily edited by Dastor before publication. Broughton was working as the publicity advisor to 3 large, we read that one. Nevertheless, Baba had no desire to see Broughton as he was in seclusion, and remarked to the Mandali, see how Maya obstructs my work? I did not wish to see anyone, and now my work is being impeded. Baba instructed Vishnu to write to Adi Sr. in Nasik, informing him to go to Bombay and meet Broughton at the dock, lodge him in a hotel for the night at his own expense, and bring him to Meherabad with Jalbai. He also instructed Adi that Broughton should bring plenty of fruit with him because no fresh food except milk was available at Meherabad. Accordingly, Adi Sr. met Paul Broughton, and he and Jalbai arrived in Meherabad on Saturday, November 22nd, 1930. Broughton was accommodated on Meherabad Hill in the middle room of the water tank. Although Sidhu did not know a word of English, he was appointed by Baba to look after Broughton's needs. The next day, Baba called Broughton to him in the cave, along with Jalbai and a British acquaintance of Broughton's named Frederick Fletcher. Footnote, Fletcher, known as Prajnananda, had been living in India for 7 years as a Buddhist monk. The purpose of Broughton's interview was to determine if Baba was a genuine master. Vishnu read Baba's alphabet board as he dictated. Broughton began to take notes, but Baba wanted his full attention and asked him not to. Broughton should record the conversation later from memory if he wished to. Footnote. In his published writings, Broughton used the word Messiah for a Western reader rather than avatar, which is what Baba dictated on the board according to Broughton's original notes. Baba explained about the 5 Sadgurus and their circles and his own coming down and said, Upasni Maharaj and Hazrat Babajan are the greatest spiritual personalities of the age. It was my past connection with Babajan which gave me the experience in a second without any striving or longing for it. And again, it is this connection with others that will make me share this infinite treasure amongst the 12 of the circle in the future. A Sadguru in physical form can work a lot of good for the world, more than without it. After the death of a Sadguru, he enjoys eternal bliss, and the power is there with him, but not the authority to use it. So wherever there is a tomb of a master, there the power is, but it is the faith which becomes the medium and utilizes that power. It is for this reason that people generally derive benefits from the tombs of saints. Internal benefit can, however, only be imparted when the master is in bodily presence. When a master dies, he takes no further interest in affairs of the gross world, not even a Christ. Hence, those who imagine that a, quote, dead, unquote, master is responding to their prayers or watching over them are wrong. So too, tombs and mausoleums of great saints are of no spiritual value to those who visit them. Nevertheless, when a sincere devotee prays and intensely concentrates on a dead prophet like Christ and calls on him for any help, a living master then in the world will feel that this cry is being made. And if the sincerity and aspiration of the devotee warrant it, he will manifest himself to the devotee, taking on the appearance of Christ, etc., and answer the prayer. Okay, we could have another reader now.
Rosalie, would you like to read?
When Brenton questioned Baba about his mission, Baba stated, I shall change the history of the whole world. As Jesus came to impart spirituality to a materialistic age, so I have come to impart a spiritual push to present-day mankind. There is always a fixed time for such divine workings, and when the hour is ripe, I shall reveal my true nature to the entire world. The great teachers of religion, Zoroaster, Ram, Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, and Muhammad, do not differ in their essential doctrines. All these prophets came from God. These divine ones appeared in public when their help was most needed, when spirituality was at its lowest ebb and materialism was apparently victorious everywhere. Mankind is rapidly approaching such a time. At present, the whole world is enmeshed in sensual desires, in racial prejudice, selfishness, and money worship. God is forsaken. True religion is abused. Man seeks life, and the priests give him stones. God, therefore, must send his true prophet among men once again to establish true worship and to awaken people out of their materialistic stupor. I but follow in the line of these earlier prophets. This is my mission. The prophets lay down certain rules and practices to help the masses lead better lives and to incline them toward God. These rules become the tenets of an organized religion. But the idealistic spirit and motive force which prevailed during the prophet's lifetime gradually disappear after his death. That is why organizations cannot bring spiritual truth home to people. Religious organizations become like archaeological departments trying to resuscitate the past. Therefore, I shall not attempt to establish any new religion, cult, or organization. I shall rejuvenate and revitalize the religious thought of all people and instill a higher understanding of life in them. Remember, though, that the fundamental truth of all religions is really the same, because all issue from the same source, God. But the avatar considers the times, circumstances, and prevailing mentality of the people before his public manifestation. He therefore preaches doctrines best understood and best suited to such conditions. Baba then brought up a different point to Brunton. Have you not noticed how all nations have been brought into instant communication with each other during this modern epoch? Do you not see how the railways, steamships, telephones, telegraph, radio, and newspapers have caused the whole world to become a closely woven unit? An important event happening in one country is made known within a day to the people of another country 10,000 miles away. There is a special reason why all these developments have recently taken place. The time is soon coming to give mankind a universal spiritual belief, which will serve all races of people in every country. In other words, the way is being prepared to enable me to deliver a worldwide message to humanity. But when will you tell the world about your mission? Asked Brunton. I shall break my silence and deliver my message only when there is chaos and confusion everywhere, for then I shall be most needed. When the world is rocking in upheavals, earthquakes, floods, volcanic eruptions, when both East and West are aflame with war, truly the whole world must suffer, for the whole world must be redeemed. Do you know the date of this war? Inquired Brunton. Yes, it is not far off, but I do not wish to reveal the date, Baba dictated. This is a terrible prophecy, exclaimed Brunton. Baba looked sad for a moment and explained, yes, it is. The war will be terrible in its nature because scientific ingenuity will make it more intense than the last war. However, it will last only a short time, a few months, and when it has reached its worst, I shall make myself known publicly and declare my mission to the entire world. After the war, a long era of unique peace will come, a time of world tranquility. Disarmament will no longer then be a matter of mere talk, but an actual fact. Racial and communal strife will cease. Sectarian hatred between religious organizations will come to an end. I shall travel widely throughout the world, and all nations will be eager to see me. My spiritual message will reach every land, every town, and every village, bringing universal brotherhood in its wake, peace among men, compassion for the poor and the downtrodden. And most importantly, I will bestow love for God. What is India's future? Asked Brunton. In India, I shall not rest until the pernicious caste system is totally uprooted and destroyed. When this happens, India will find itself to be one of the most influential countries in the world. Despite its shortcomings, India is still the most spiritual country in the world. The future will find India to be the moral leader of all nations. All great founders of religions were born in the East, and it is to the East that the people of the world all great founders of religions were born in the East, and it is to the East that the people of the world must continue to look for spiritual light. Brunton thought this over for a moment and then said, Europe is hard and skeptical. How can you convert unfamiliar peoples to your brand of belief? The average Westerner will tell you that it is impossible and very likely laugh at you for your pains. Baba remarked, you do not realize how changed the times will be. Once I publicly announce myself as the avatar, no one will be able to withstand my power. I shall openly perform miracles as proof of my mission, not to satisfy idle curiosity, but to convince the skeptically minded. When the conversation ended, Brunton admitted that he did not understand why Meher Baba was confining himself inside a stone cave when there was a well-structured building to abide in. But he was impressed by what Baba revealed to him. During his final interview on the 24th, Brunton asked Baba, how do you know you are the Messiah? Dictating from his board, Baba replied, I know it so well. You know that you are a human being, and I know that I am the avatar. It is my whole life. My bliss never stops. You never mistake yourself for some other person, so I cannot mistake who I am. I have a divine mission to fulfill, and I will do it. My manifestation will occur in the near future, but I cannot give you the exact date. There are others who claim to be the Messiah, said Brunton. Baba smiled and then remarked, yes, there is Krishnamurti, Mrs. Basant's protege. The theosophists deceive themselves. Their chief wire pullers are supposed to be somewhere on the Himalayas in Tibet. You will find nothing there but dust and stones. Besides, no real spiritual master ever required someone else's body for his own use. Such thinking is ridiculous. Baba then commented about America. America has a tremendous future and will become a spiritually minded nation. Whenever I visit a place and stay there, however short a time, its spiritual atmosphere becomes greatly elevated, and I intend to visit America. Baba ended his meeting with Brunton by urging him, go to the West as my representative. Spread my name as that of the coming divine messenger. Work for me, and you will then be working for the good of mankind. Brunton looked startled and said, I don't know if I can do that. The world will probably think I am mad. Baba assured him that he was mistaken. I will help you to render service to me in the West. Baba then directed Brunton and Fletcher to meet Hazrat Babajan in Pune to see the Tiger Valley Cave in Panchgani, and then to visit Kolhapur High School and the Madras Center. At one point during his interview, Baba had explained to Brunton, the feet are potent for receiving the bad sanskaras of other people, while the forehead is potent for giving them. Hence, devotees lay their foreheads on the feet, especially the toes, which are most potent of the Sadguru, and he takes up consciously some of their sanskaras. But the same process will happen with you if you allow others to touch your feet. Hence, never permit it. But if it has occurred, immediately put your own forehead on the feet of this other person, and he will have to take some of your bad sanskaras in exchange. Accompanied by Jalbai, Brunton and his friend left soon afterwards to meet Babajan. In Pune, Abdullah Jafar took them to Babajan. When Brunton stepped forward to face Babajan, she gripped his hand, looked into his eyes, and then said in a slow, feeble voice, he has been called to India and soon he will understand. Footnote. According to Pendu, Baba tried to discourage Brunton from writing anything about him, and instead suggested he visit Shirdi and Sakori and write about Sai Baba and Rupasni Maharaj. Baba even instructed the Mandali not to speak with Brunton, Pendu recalled. On Tuesday, 25th November 1930, Baba came out of the Panchvati cave and left for Nasik the following day, where he met with the women Mandali. He returned to Meherabad on the 27th and remarked, my seclusion has been disturbed, and now I wish to complete it. There should be no more obstacles in my work. No one should know the place of my seclusion. From now on, I will have to keep my whereabouts a secret. Baba left for Delhi 2 days later with Rao Sahib, Chanji, and Vishnu. During the 3 weeks in Delhi, the Mandali in Nasik and Meherabad were informed that Baba's health was poor, and that was why he was detained there and not meeting with anyone. The fact was, however, that Baba was seriously occupied with sending various messages through Chanji to different political leaders, thereby establishing contact with them. Baba himself did not see any politicians in person, but used Chanji as his emissary. Baba returned to Meherabad on Tuesday, 23rd December 1930, and then left for Nasik a week later on the 30th. Rustam's movie theater was nearing completion, and Baba arranged for the men Mandali to move to Nasik and live in the theater. Chanji had traveled from Delhi separately and met Baba at Meherabad on Sunday, 4th January 1931. After tea that day, Baba desired to play a game of Atyapatya and went to his japti to change clothes. When he returned, he found that the men had not started preparations for the game. Sides had not been chosen, nor had the lines on the playing field been drawn. The Mandali's negligence caused Baba to become extremely annoyed, and he reprimanded them severely. It is a painful fact that neither do you care for me, nor for my instructions. I am being worshipped by the angels, wallis, and peers, but your behavior toward me is one of complete indifference. The other day, when Adi Sr. had been to the wali in Nasik, the wali told him, "Your master is the real emperor, before whom we are mere dogs." The wali used such words for describing me, whereas you, my Mandali, pay no attention to my directions. I had clearly expressed my wish to play Atyapatya, and it was your duty to prepare for it. But you have not lifted a finger. How painful this is to me, and what a pity it is. Remember this well. A day will come when you, one and all, will break your heads and shed tears of blood and repent to the heavens for your indifference. When you recognize me and come to know fully who I really am, you will feel sorry for yourselves and realize how grossly negligent you were in following my dictates and caring for my words. Although I now pardon you and your mistake is forgiven, it is not befitting to be so careless. It is not really your mistake, but my luck. The same thing happens with every avatar. He remains unknown in his lifetime, but after he gives up his body, the whole world weeps in repentance for the great loss they have to sustain. Your time of weeping will also come. Atyapatya was then played for an hour with full vigor and much enthusiasm. Boys from Erangowan village were invited to join in the game, and compared to other days, all the men were fully engrossed and played to the best of their ability, which pleased Baba.
Okay, thanks, Rosalie. Vijay, would you like to read now?
Okay, Jai Baba. The following day, 5 January, 5th January, Baba revealed to the Mandali the roots of Zoroastrianism. The Shehna Meher, Persian historical epic poem, is almost total fiction. Zoroastrianism is very, very old, almost 6,000 years. The reigns of the famous king Jawal, Rustam, and Jamshed were before Zoroaster. Almost 100,000 years ago, who could authentically document such ancient history? Religion, as the Parsis practice it today, has nothing in it. All the original teachings of Zoroaster were burnt and destroyed. Hence, what they have is an afterthought and quite different from what Zoroaster actually said and taught. It is a pity, but true. Rustam arrived that day, and Baba spoke with him about the cinema and other affairs. KJ Dastur arrived the following night. Preparations were made for another journey to Persia, which was kept secret. Chanji was sent to Bombay on the 6th night to obtain passports and visas for himself. Baba, Rao Sahib, Bua Sahib, Gustadji, and Aga Ali, except for these five and Udumji, who was assisting Chamji. No one else knew of the intended trip. Agali was staying with his father in Bombay. Haji's consent was sought to allow Ali to accompany Baba to Persia, and Haji consented. Baba went from Meherabad to Nasik on Friday, 9th January 1931, followed the next night by the entire Mandli and Chanji. Soon after, some persons from Kolhapur came to see Baba and related the details of murder trial there. A relative of one person in the group was involved in the case and had been sentenced to death. Baba advised the person to appear to the Privy Council on his relative's behalf, but the person said that he lacked the funds for such an appeal. Baba directed him, if you go to the Privy Council, my inner help will be there for you. Later it was discovered that the person had lied to Baba because he had in fact considerable wealth. He did not listen to Baba's advice and the accused relative was executed. This news was reported to Baba on Tuesday, 13 January 1931. Baba explained to the Mandli about what happens to the consciousness of a person who is executed. If anyone is executed by the government, he enters a state of samadhi. It is temporary. For instance, when a person is being hanged, there is a clash during the execution between the functioning of inhalation and exhalation. Becoming lifeless, the person enters samadhi state. This type of samadhi has nothing to do with anything spiritual, for as soon as this state is over and according to the sanskaras of his past life, the soul takes rebirth. If he has murdered anyone, he must pay for those sanskaras of murder. If the person is innocent, yet is executed, he is then freed from the sanskaras of murder. It is quite different in the case of people who commit suicide by hanging. When a suicide samadhi finishes, he remains hanging, waiting between the astral and those worlds. That person becomes a ghost and does not acquire another physical body for ages to come. While in Nasik, Baba spent more time with the woman Mandali. One day he gathered the women together and remarked, I have great love for you all, and that is a source of trouble to me. Taken aback, Naranaja and Khurshid were hurt by this and exclaimed, Baba, don't be troubled on our account. Looking pensive for a moment, Baba gestured. It means that you don't want my love. All cried out, no, that, Baba, we pray for your ardent love, but we do not wish to have you suffer because of us. Baba explained, I worry for whomever I love. The lover is distressed for the beloved, but the beloved is unimaginably more troubled for his lover. My luck, my fate is like that, full of troubles, discomfort, distress, and disquiet, because I am the beloved of all. Baba then requested that the woman sing a Hindi song which began with this couplet. The cuckoo is singing in the forest. The beloved has left us in our infancy. The women sang and their efforts made Baba happy. During this period, Gulmai came to Nasik to visit Baba. On one occasion, he asked her, will you always stay near Mehra? As she is my Radha. Gulmai replied that it would not be possible for her. Baba then asked the same question of Sunamosi, and she at once assented. In those days, the women only were kept aloof in their separate compound and would dress in plain cloth cotton sarees with long sleeved blouses. They were ordered to dress modestly and to keep their heads covered at all times with a scarf so as not to show their hair. One day, Baba decided to rummage through the woman's trunks. Sunamasi's trunk contained beautiful embroidered sarees, which she had brought from Bombay. She was very fond of dressing well. But Baba took away all her belongings and handed them to her daughter Khurshid. A few days later, however, Baba took them away from Khurshid also. Baba's intimate ones living in Nasik at the time included Nawal and Dina Talati, Ramju and his wife Khatija, her sister Haja, and Ramju's sister Amina and her husband Abdullah Jafar. The ladies would frequently visit the woman Mandali. Freni, her husband Rustam, and mother Daulata Mai were also residing in Nasik in a separate bungalow with their children. On the evening of Tuesday, 13 January 1931, the inauguration of the MEHER Film Company, a company formed by Rustam to produce films, was held in Nasik with music and singing. 2 days later, Baba drove to Bombay with Rustam, Nawal, and Khalid Umar. Chanji and Abdullah Jafar went by train. Pesu came to see Baba there on 17th January. It had been a long time since Pesu had met Baba, and he was happy to be in Baba's company once again, promising to rejoin the Mandali in the near future. When Baba was in Kashmir during August of 1929, Kai Khushru Masa had been kidnapped by his relatives and confined to his house in Bombay. Masa had been forced to transfer all his property to his relatives in a trust. And after 1 year had passed, during which no protest had been registered against the trust documents, Masa was released from his confinement. His wife, Sunamasi, and daughter Khurshid went to Bombay and brought him back to Nasik. But Masa's health was broken. He had pneumonia and was under constant medical care. Ilamai was given the duty of nursing him. Baba left Bombay on 17th by train at 10 p.m. and reached Nasik at 2 a.m. He went straight to where Masa was staying and spread his bedding on the veranda outside Masa's room, resting there for the night. Baba frequently rose during the night to look it on Masa, consoling the ailing man. Masa, do not worry. I am here to be with you. Remember me. The next morning, Baba sent for Sunamasi and Khurshid and asked Khurshid to sing a ghazal. Thus, Baba kept Masa, who was in the next room, occupied with thoughts of God. At 1 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, 18 January 1931, Masa's soul merged in eternal peace forever. He was only 51-year-old. Wow. This was the first time the master had stayed near a dying person from among the Mandali during his last moments. The next day, Kai Khushru Masa's funeral was performed in the town of Deol Ali, 4 miles from Nasik. at the Zoroastrian Tower of Silence. 4 or 5 of Mandali attended. Sohrabji and Jamshedji Desai had arrived on the 18th from Navsari and left the next day after meeting Baba. On Monday, 26 January, Sarosh hired a small private airplane and brought it to Devlali. Baba, his brother Behram, and 6 others took a ride in it. This was the first time Meher Baba rode in an airplane. A 70-year-old holy man in Nasik in a temple on the banks of the Godavari River. He was a large man who wore a sleeveless jacket and a loincloth. Local people called him simply Waliji or the Baba. Once referring to this man, Baba revealed, although he dresses in rags and resembles a beggar in appearance, he is a wali on the 5th lane and is the spiritual chargeman of Nasik. Kaka Bharia was instructed to visit the wali from time to time. Meanwhile, on 19th February 1931, Faram working Waxwala came to stay permanently at Nasik under Baba's instructions. He had come several times for Baba's darshan at Alamai Katraks and Nauruji Dadachandji's apartments in Bombay and had been directed by Baba to come to Nasik to work in the Sarosh Motor Works as a typist. There is a humorous story related to Faram. Faram had previous contact with Pasni Maharaj at Sakuri. One day Faram told Baba that Maharaj had promised him that this would be his last lifetime. Baba assured him that it would be and that he would fulfill Maharaj's promise. But then asked why Faram did not want to come back in another life. Faram answered, Baba, I hated school as a boy. The thought of ever coming back and going to school again is dreadful to me. Oh my God. I don't want to come back because I hate school. Baba laughed and related Faram's reply to the Mandali. Around the 1st of February 1931, after his pilgrimage to various places in India, including meeting Baba lovers in Panchgani, Bijapur, Bangalore, Madras, and Calcutta, Paul Brenton returned to Nasik to see Baba. At that meeting, Baba asked him why he looked so distressed. Brenton replied, my mind is troubled. I am thinking of the dozen or more holy men I have encountered in India who all claim to be the Messiah.
Okay, thanks, BJ. Mona, do you want to read?
Welcome.
Where do I start from? Baba smiled. Okay, yeah. Baba smiled and gestured. Yes, I have heard of some of them. How do you explain it? Bruton asked. Baba replied, if they are honest, then they are simply deluded. If they're dishonest, then they're deceiving others and they will have to suffer for that. Do not worry about it. All these men are unconsciously helping to do my work. I know who I am. When the time comes for me to fulfill my mission, the world will also know who I am. Branton was invited to stay with the men at the ashram in Nasik. Branton had written to Baba from Calcutta. I'm looking forward in the near future to receiving spiritual enlightenment at your hands. I need it if I am to go back to the West with any message for their materialistic minds. During his week-long stay, however, Baba usually kept aloof from him. Although Brunton questioned the master every day, Baba was cool in his reception, and their meetings were deliberately brief in contrast to the lengthy interviews Baba had granted him at Mehrabad. Brunton was given Chanji's and Ramju's diaries to read. But he was, on the whole, unimpressed and doubted Meher Baba's claim of divinity. As age reminds us, however, the avatar works in mysterious ways. Those who oppose him also work for him. Meher Baba has a secret motive in aggravating Brunton, causing him eventually to pen attacks against him. The fact was that just as Baba had wished Colonel Irani to oppose him in India, he wished an influential person from the West to oppose him in Europe and America. Baba chose Brunton for this role as he had certain work to accomplish through Brunton's antagonistic attacks and criticisms. 3 years later, Paul Brunton was to publish a popular book titled A Search in Secret India, which, although critical of Meher Baba, drew many Europeans and Americans to become interested in him. Footnote, please. Lord Meher, page 1216, footnote. A Search in Secret India has been reprinted more than 20 times and translated into many languages. Brunton wrote more than a dozen books. He is credited with being the first person to write accounts of what he learned in the East from a Western perspective. His works had a major influence on the spread of Eastern mysticism to the West. Taking pains to express his thoughts in layperson's terms, Brunton was able to present what he learned from the Orient and from ancient tradition as a living wisdom. Paul Brunton's writings sum up his view that meditation and the inward quest are not exclusively for monks and hermits, but will also support those living normal, active lives in the Western world. Godwin Cash and Smith, Paul Brunton, Essential Readings, Thought Publications, 1990. Let's go back to the main page.
Hang on a
Thank you.
second. I'm having difficult closing this one.
There's a close sign down, yeah.
Yeah, I see it and I'm tapping it, but it's not responding.
The arrow stuck on Smith.
Whoops.
Thank you for sharing, Eugene.
Oh, you're welcome.
While we are going through the pages, I want to know if Ralph and Elizabeth would be open to reading after I finish reading.
Sure.
You're on
Sounds
your phone.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I can
thanks.
read. I'm cooking, but I can stop.
Yeah, all right, thank you. I will read and then I'll call out to y'all when I want y'all to read. Thank you.
Mona, would you like me to share the screen? Unless
Yeah, I think he's got it now.
Okay.
But it's upside down.
It's
just-
sideways.
Baba's sense of humor amazes us. We needed a nice laugh and a break. So there we go. Um,
This meeting is being recorded.
In an easy mood, Brunton left Nasik on Sunday, 8th February 1931, traveling to the Saint Ramana Maharishi's ashram in South India before returning to London. Of all the gurus he met, Brunton was most impressed with Ramana Maharishi. When Brunton asked Maharishi if he had ever heard of Meher Baba, the saint replied that he had. Brunton asked if he had anything further to add to Meher Baba's claim to be an avatar, and Maharishi replied, "What have I to say? This is a question that seekers after truth need not consider. People that are in the lower rungs of the ladder waste their energies over all such questions." Next page, please. Will the world be rejuvenated? Brunton inquired. Ramana Maharishi replied, "There is one who governs the world, and it is his lookout to look after the world. He who has given life to the world knows how to guide it also." Meher Message, Volume 3, Number 10, October 1931, page 43. Meher Baba never met Ramana Maharishi nor had any communication with him. The Baba once commented that he was a genuine sixth plane saint. Let's go back to the main page. Thank you so much. Maharishi also told Brunton the realized one sent out waves of spiritual influence which draw many people towards them, even though they may be sitting silently in a cave. Footnote. Paul Brunton and Mungala Venkataramiya consciously immortally Tiruvannamalai Sri Ramana Shram 1984, revised in 1986, page 134. Let's go back to the main page, please. Thank
So
you.
that's conscious immortality.
Yeah. What did I say? Did I say the same thing? On Wednesday, 11th February 1931, Baba took a few of the Mandali to Pune, where they stayed at the home of Sadashiv Patel. Baba attended Sadashiv's daughter's wedding, and the nuptial ceremony turned into a large darshan program as several hundred people came to pay their respects to the master. Among the leading guests was the Maharaja of Bhor, and the wedding seemed to be pretext for Baba to give darshan to his followers in Pune, rich and poor alike. Afterward, Baba visited Baba House and met with Bobo, Memo, and Mani. When Baba arrived, he found Bobo standing before his photograph in worship. Baba embraced his father most graciously and lovingly. Bobo was undoubtedly a true dervish, age noted. In answer to his heart's intense longing, infinite consciousness had taken human form as his son, rewarding Shariarji for his years of wandering in search of truth. Baba kissed Mani affectionately, and discussed certain matters with her. Although she was only 12 years old, it would soon be time for Mani to join the women mandali. It was on this occasion that Baba first hinted at keeping Mani as one of his women mandali, informing his mother, "Money belongs to me." But Memo wished to keep Mani at home, and Baba's comments worried her since. If Mani to join the ashram, then none of her children would be with her and Sheriarji in Pune. Adi Jr., Behram, and Jalbai were all living in Nasik at the same time. On the 13th, Baba left Pune for Nasik, where preparations had begun to celebrate his birthday. Bobo, Memo, and Mani also came to Nasik for the birthday. The Master's 37th birthday was celebrated on Tuesday, 17th February 1931 in Nasik that year. Ramjo's sister Amina Jafar had seen to all the arrangements, and she and her husband Abdullah had paid for all the expenses. Uh, Elizabeth, could you read next? Thank you.
Okay. In Pune, during 1922, while at the thatch hut along Ferguson Road, Abdullah had sought Baba's advice when he faced a court case against him. At that time, Baba foretold that he would win his property back and be awarded 80,000 rupees. After 9 years, this prediction came true. And in their deep gratitude, Amina and Abdullah spent lavishly to celebrate Baba's birthday. They had a beautiful robe made for Baba and placed a net of flowers over his body to adorn him. Baba looked gorgeous in his kingly robe. However, the rejoicing was disturbed when harsh words broke out between Gulmai and Memo. Gulmai had garlanded Baba first, which irked Memo, as she wished to be the one to have this honor. Baba himself intervened and soon pacified both of his mothers. Such conflicts were the marvel of Meher Baba's internal work, and they were always present among his close ones. The master would actually encourage some people to be hostile toward others, creating bitter feelings and often giving rise to loud and lengthy arguments. There was usually a contentious atmosphere between different parties, especially among the Mandali. But such bitter disputes, quarrels, and strife occurred for a different purpose. They were helpful to the Mandali in teaching them to be tolerant, shattering their egos, and keeping them bowed to the beloved's feet as he took them along the path to truth. Living with the master was never easy, and each of the close Mandali experienced what living while dying meant. Being under the guidance of a master is a living death to the false self. No pen can do justice to the type of life these souls of Meher Baba's circle underwent. It can only be experience. Amina Jafar had ordered an enormous feast, and Baba served the food to all. Chanji got the most precious prasad from Baba that day. While serving the meal, Baba asked him through hand gestures, "Do you want more?" Chanji did not speak, but replied back with gestures. At Baba's asking again, Chanji simply nodded. Annoyed by this, Baba flung his alphabet board at Chanji, striking him on the throat. Chanji gasped, then cried out that he was hurt. Baba motioned, "Do you want more of my prasad?" Chanji humbly replied, "You are the master, and you have all authority over me. I am at your feet, and you may do as you like." This answer pleased Baba. During February 1931, people from Nasik, as well as from distant places, came daily for Baba's darshan. Baba also went to Bombay a few times to attend to certain matters connected with his upcoming trip to Persia that had been kept secret thus far. Once during this period, Baba called a meeting of the Mandali and remarked, "Now the situation is such that I have no more money. I am desperate for funds and can no longer provide you with food and clothing. If you are willing to starve, remain with me. From now on, if you stay with me, you will have to undergo even greater privations. So all of you should seriously think this over and give me your decision. All agreed to stay, and Baba again warned, I'm telling you the truth. I have no funds left and won't have any coming in. You will have to face more hardships now than ever before. All were willing to remain with Baba, come what may. On Saturday, 28th February 1931, Baba performed the opening ceremony of Rustam's new movie theater in Nasik. At the hands of the master of the Universal Cinema, the Circle Cinema was officially declared open. In the beginning, the Circle Cinema was also known as the MEHER Theater. A Charlie Chaplin comedy, Shoulder Arms, and another film were shown. Several of the men were employed at Rustam's theater. Behram was the projectionist. Dua Saheb was the cashier, and others were apportioned different duties without wages. Rustam had agreed to provide their food, but he had gone so heavily into debt financing the theater that at times when insufficient revenue was generated to meet operating expenses, arranging for the Mandalis' food became difficult. After a 4-day trip to Bombay with Rustam, Vishnu, Chanji, and Rua Saheb, Baba returned to Nasik on Saturday, 18th April, 1931, and convened a meeting of the Mandali the next morning at 10 o'clock a.m. on the stage at Circle Cinema. I am leaving Nasik to remain in seclusion somewhere, he explained. If I am to open my mouth, break my silence, I will come back in October. If not, I will remain in seclusion for an indefinite period. So it is better for you to understand your responsibilities, live for me, and keep my pleasure. Rustam said, if all cooperate with me, this difficult time for me will pass. The Mandali consented to cooperate with Rustam and stay in Nasik during Baba's seclusion, and Baba was very pleased. One day, a person who was familiar with Baba came to him and poured forth his tale of being reduced to poverty. Baba frankly explained to him, I have no money at all. My Mandali go hungry, and I myself am looking for someone to arrange for their food. My Mandali consists of such gems that they consider it an ordinary thing to sacrifice their lives for my cause. The man remained quiet and then went away. Sending for Bua Saheb, Baba directed him, follow that man and give him 100 rupees. Bua Saheb looked astonished and said, day and night we rack our brains trying to make ends meet, and you want to give him 100 rupees? Baba explained, pay him 200 rupees. Bua Saheb was taken aback, but he wisely kept quiet. He thought, knowing Baba, if I say anything more, the figure will jump from 200 to 500 rupees. So he prudently exited and gave the man 200 rupees. During this period, a young man from Pune named Minu Barucha, 25, came into the master's contact. Minu had gone to school with Jalbai and was a friend of Behram and Adi Jr. also. Minu was working in Nasik as an electrical engineer and one day happened to meet Behram on the road. After Minu casually asked what he was doing in Nasik, Behram told him of his elder brother and took him to meet Baba at the Circle Cinema. Being a Parsi, Minu was at first perplexed when he saw people bowing to Baba. However, he soon became a regular visitor and learned more about Meher Baba's spiritual status. After reading some books, he became a devoted follower of Meher Baba and also of Upasni Maharaj. Baba had not informed anyone of his future plans. On Wednesday, 22nd April 1931, he and a small group quietly left Nasik at 3:00 a.m. by train for Pune. After spending a day there and in Talegaon, he was driven to Bombay in Vital Bukri's car and left for Lahore by the Frontier Mail train on the 26th, accompanied by Aga Ali, Bua Saheb, Chanji, Gustaji, and Rao Saheb. Reaching Lahore on the 28th and leaving Bua Saheb, Gustaji, and Rao Saheb there, Baba departed for Karachi with Aga Ali and Chanji. They arrived in Karachi the next day and stayed at Pilamai's house. To please Ali, Baba often remarked, in these hard times, with the hopeless situation all around, Ali is the only source of solace and comfort to me. On Thursday, 30th April 1931, Jamshed Mehta, the mayor of Karachi, came to see Baba. Baba praised his sincere efforts and sympathetic treatment of the poor and needy and admired his selfless service in other areas as well. Baba explained to him, I am very pleased with your sincere work and selfless service, particularly in the cause of the really poor and needy. You render it with a sense of renunciation, even at the cost of sacrificing your own interests. I know all about your activities in the cause of service to others, and they are unique and most praiseworthy. You are sincere and selfless as very few persons in the world in your position could be. In spite of all these sincere humanitarian efforts and the cause of service to others, God realization is far, far away. The ego will not die so easily. It is most difficult for the ego to disappear, and disappear it must before God realization is possible. Even in the noblest aspirants and the sincerest workers for the good of humanity, the thought that I did this or I have done that exists. Although they might not say this openly to others, the thought persists in their minds. This very thought that I have done this service is so destructive that it nullifies all the service rendered and robs it of all value and worth. Jamshed Mehta was highly impressed with Baba's explanation, and his heart accepted the truth of the master's words. To Mehta's surprise, Baba visited the slums of Karachi and Manora with him that evening. While Baba was in Karachi, Nariman Dadachanji came to see him again. Nariman was studying in college at Karachi at the time and had met Baba previously in Bombay. From the beginning, Nariman was silent in his love for Baba and never verbalized his deep feelings. What secret dialogues the master had with Nariman's inner self, only Baba knows. On Friday, 1st May 1931, Baba left Karachi with Aga Ali and went back to Lahore. Chanji was ill with fever and stayed behind and joined them later. On the 11th, the entire group met in Quetta, where Rusi had rented a special house for Baba. However, Baba did not like it and returned to his old room in Rusi's home, while the Mandalis stayed in the adjoining house. At the time, Rusi's two daughters, Goher and Katie, were 15 and 11, respectively.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Mhm.
So
You're
we'll
welcome.
stop here and we'll start the reading next week from 12:22. And we have a special guest today. Vijay, are you there?
I'm feeling very sleepy. So,
All right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, all good. So we'll end the recording here.
Yeah.